Welcome, one and all. Whether you're a newcomer to this little town or you've lived here for some time, everyone is welcome to hear a story from this old timer. It's nice to see new faces here in Long Road, Ontario. Now, well, new if you don't count those construction fellas gentrifying our neighborhoods, of course. I do worry for them, working in abandoned buildings late in the night, especially due to so close to Halloween. I hope they don't plan on attempting to renovate that old asylum, though. That old place should be left alone, and all its spirits in it, especially her. Oh, that's right. You new folks don't know about the Long Road Asylum, do you? It was opened back in the 1700s, not long after the area was colonized. That old thing that has a bad reputation since the beginning, and really, it's a wonder that it stayed opened until before the First World War broke out. It's haunted, that's for sure. Oh, you want to know what I meant by her, eh? Why, the person I'm referring to this is in our little town's most infamous resident. Someone so feared that even now most of the folk here won't even say her real name. They just referred to her by what the newspapers used to call her, the Witch of Long Road. Actually, now that I think about it, that's a good spooky story in and of itself to share tonight. Scoot close by the inn's fireplace, and this old dog will tell you quite the tale. Now, the witch was born on Halloween night in the year 1866 and baptized under the name Fumiko Legba. Her mother was a young Japanese shaman who had lived in the town for 2 years, while her father was a wealthy merchant and a former slave who took the Underground Railroad from the States a little over a year prior to Legba's birth. They were quite the happy family until tragedy tore them apart. See, reportedly a rich man's wife was found dead, and the merchant, despite his innocence, became the only suspect. The result was a 5-year-old Fumiko being forced to watch as both of her parents were beaten to death by a mob in front of their house. If it wasn't for the sheriff at the time, Fumiko would have had never grown up. She was put into the foster system after that. Going from home to home, despite this tragedy, she seemed to grow into a mature, stable-minded young adult. She finished school despite everything stacked against her back and became a well-known artist. Unfortunately, I don't know much about details about her complete upbringing. Not much details have been found. But the most I could tell you is that reportedly she had a friend from childhood that was killed accidentally from when another girl pushed her into a puddle that had a live wild wire dangling in it. The only other thing known about Fumiko is that she studied and had a fascination with the magic arts, especially voodoo. But it was between the years 1885 to 1887 when the body started to appear. Over the course of 2 years, 44 victims were found in various locations across town, all in the same kind of state. Several lacerations and stab wounds inflicted by what appeared to be a large fishing hook were on the corpses, along with bite marks clearly caused by human teeth. A look of sheer terror could be seen in their lifeless eyes. Of course, it wasn't a victim of the witch. If it wasn't for her signature in the room, a canvas with the perfectly captures portraits of the victim nearby. There weren't enough pieces of evidence to tie the killings to Fumiko Legba, and so she went undetected for 2 years. So how did she get caught, you may ask? She slipped up with her last victim by leaving a piece of her hair on the body, leading to her being tracked down. The Long Road Witch was finally arrested in May of 1887 in the town theater. In the midst of fighting a mass murder that was causing trouble around that time, both women were taken to the station and put on separate trials, where the same sheriff that rescued her years before could see that something wasn't right with Legba. He listened as she twitched every couple of minutes, smacking herself in the temple while explaining her motive. In front of the township, she admitted to being compelled by voices in her head to trap her victims' minds in illusory nightmares that they couldn't escape before killing them. "I didn't mean to kill them," Legba reportedly stammered. I just wanted them to hear and see what I hear and see. It was the voices that told me to kill and eat them." The whole trial was so dark and twisted that many of the juries reportedly had nightmares for weeks afterwards. In the end, Fumiko Legba went down in history as our town's most infamous serial killer. And for her madness, she was locked away in the asylum. It was quite clear to everyone that behind those bright emerald green eyes was a twisted mind, one that was unresolved trauma that had now broken and needed help. Unfortunately, asylums in that era weren't as advanced as mental institutions are nowadays. And while that not much is known about her time, there is well documented that in the end, Fumiko Legba's body was found unmoving in her room on November 1st, 1888, just the morning after her 22nd birthday. So what was going on within the mind of the witch? To this day, the answer isn't clear. What's clear is that after her mysterious death, multiple deaths and disappearances began to occur at the asylum, the first being the head doctor that oversaw her treatment, that kept haunting until the place was abandoned. However, that didn't stop the disappearances of any foolish soul dumb enough to go into the asylum. It's said that she's still there, stalking the rotted halls filled with vengeance, waiting for her next victim. I pray those construction workers don't end up being next.